Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. The pain of his soul tearing apart caused his body to shudder. This pain is still much weaker than anticipated. It should be about the level when I absorbed the 110th blood river crystal. Luo Feng was able to maintain his calm. In terms of threshold of pain, thousands of years ago, when he was still weak in Blood River World, he felt that the pain caused during the absorption of the first crystals alone was unbearable. However, as he grew, it honed his mental state more. However, as he absorbed more Blood River crystals, the pain naturally grew more and more. Back then he had crumbled countless times from the pain, and over these thousands of years, his threshold grew more and more. Currently, the golden horned beast's right claw and back had a total of 165 crystals. It's easy. Even though his body shook slightly, he could still smile. Luckily, in terms of mental states, he had already reached the limit of knowing oneself. Even though this was the lowest of the three levels, it simply represented where he was at. Like innocence emphasized on coupling strength with gentleness, and the highest level, encompassing all, included everything. The three levels were explained as such. The first level was stupidly sticking to oneself, without any skill, simply relying on force alone and perseverance. Almost like a stone against rushing waters, being honed over and over. The second level had skill involved. Knowing when to be soft, and when to be hard, and eventually melding the two, naturally withstanding any force against it. The third level was above them all. However, the only reason why the second and third levels were higher than the first, was simply because skill was involved and there was an amplifying effect. The same soul willpower, comprehending innocence and perfect fusion, could withstand pressure and illusions, withstanding soul attacks at least 10 to hundreds of times more. If one reached the level of encompassing all, his ability to withstand all these would rise hundreds to thousands of times more again. However, this fusion of the crystal had nothing to do with soft or hard, encompassing nothing. It was simply melding the crystal and the soul. All one had to do was to bear the pain. And at this time, the mental states were useless. It all depended on one's perseverance and pain threshold. This pain was from within the soul. Not illusions or from external sources. Yin-yang. Encompassing all. This pain was from within, and not from an attack, rather, true pain from the fusion of his soul with the crystal. Luo Feng had walked the limit of the first level all this while, constantly honing his self and forcefully bearing with pain. His mental state had long been honed to that of a diamond. The Star Tower's crystal gradually melded with his soul in an extremely slow manner. As the level of fusion grew gradually, the pain naturally followed suit. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 20, 30. In the blink of an eye, 60 years had passed. While bearing with the pain, he continued to study the beast god statue and laws. Even connecting to the virtual universe and meeting with his family. On the 61st year, the pain level had already doubled compared to before. Luo Feng, who was optimistic initially, began to worry. The speed of this pain growing is faster than expected. I could easily bear with it initially, but it's grown so much in 60 years. If it keeps up this way, I don't have any confidence in bearing with this for over 3,000 years. What do I do? Fall? No. He opened his eyes, looking at Put sitting crossed-legged beside him. I have to survive. I have to succeed and become the Earthling race's leader. Luo Feng thought. While bearing with the intense pain, he swiftly made his plan. Hone my soul. From birth till now, I've only lived for a few thousand years. In terms of mental state training, this process will go on for at least 3,300 years. During these 3,300 years, my mental state may rise even more. However, the level of growth is still not enough. I have to search for the quickest way. Luo Feng pondered, his mind coming up with many mental state training methods. Actually, bearing with the intense pain alone was a form of training. It would make one more resolute. Not enough, just using the pain to hone myself is not enough. I need a quicker way. From birth till today. The first 200 years, his mental state training had been going pretty well. The later thousands of years, even though it had risen quite a lot over time, in terms of speed, it was much slower than before. The heart is true, pure and honest. Only then can a miracle occur. Luo Feng believed in one of the experiences shared by one of China's ancestors before. True. In nature and in virtue. Pure. No distractions. Honest, having an honest heart. This was the path to unleashing one's soul. The theory may seem simple, just like if how a researcher focused solely on research, without any distractions within, he could fully immerse himself within and his soul would provide sufficient energy to grow. The results and efficiency would improve by tens to hundreds of times. These 60 years, I've been bearing with the pain. Yet, I've been affected by it and unable to steady myself. Luo Feng thought. From now on, I'll begin to study the beast god path and purely focus on it. No matter how painful it gets, I will not let it affect me. My heart will be pure and solely focused on study. Luo Feng thought. Being vigilant in peacetime and planning ahead. Luo Feng could feel the impending danger ahead. Under this formless pressure and intense pain, he began to immerse himself in the study of the beast god path. Being true and pure may sound easy, doing it however was extremely hard. Without the intense pain, Luo Feng was easily able to carry on. However, it was hard not to be affected by it. Even with his strong willpower, he would often get distracted and thrown off by the pain. And the descending formless pressure would distract him too. However, gradually, he forgot all about it. Tossing the pain aside, no matter how intense it got, he focused on the beast god path. Only in solitude would one's soul unleash its strength. And a pure and honest heart, especially one that is able to remain this way despite the pain, would produce endless energy, allowing him to persevere. Virtual universe, in the highest peaks of Thunder Island, within a shrine covered in vast energy. The primal chaos city leader had been worrying about his own matters for the past hundreds of years. He had finally gotten to relax a little. He summoned Luo Feng, wanting to test him, also find out about his situation. He actually closed off his virtual universe connection. And he even left an automated reply for me, saying his training. He sat in the throne and laughed. Ever since he began accepting the inheritance, Luo Feng had entrusted several tasks to his family, but he didn't dare disturb the city leader, not even sending a mail. Rather, he prepared an automated reply. The moment the city leader sent a request or mail over, it would reply him immediately. Outer Region Wars Army System. When and where was the last time my disciple Luo Feng connected to the virtual universe? The city leader sat in his throne and said to the space ahead. Primal Chaos City Leader. Almost like metal clanging, Luo Feng's last connection to the virtual universe was in Star Tower. Star Tower. The city leader nodded. Hundreds of years ago, the sealed star had fallen. Over 100,000 emperors went for it, with about 8,000 of them falling. It was extremely hard for an emperor to fall. Since so many fell at that one time, the news spread far and wide, shaking the entire universe. As for the sealed star, it was said that it landed in one of the distant universe race's Chi Hu race emperors. Luo Feng, when you enter the virtual universe, come see me immediately. The city leader sent out an order to Luo Feng. He didn't know that his disciple was currently facing a terrifying trial. With his soul under intense pain, Luo Feng had been immersed in studying the beast god path. During this time, his consciousness and willpower unknowingly began to grow at a rapid rate. The effect was incredibly beneficial. Even though his mind was growing, as time passed, the pain grew more and more intense too. The level of pain outgrew his soul's growth. 100 years, 200, 300, 800, 900 years. In the blink of an eye, 1,000 years had passed. Luo Feng initially had a huge advantage against the pain. However, even his 1,000 years of training couldn't keep up with the pain growth. It reached closer to his limit. If this kept up, Luo Feng was afraid he would barely make it past 2,000 years. When that happened, the moment it exceeded his limit, his consciousness and willpower would crumble, and the crystal would make his soul crumble. He would fall. Of course, there were unexpected benefits from this 1,000 year of training. His over 1,000 years of honing and immersion into the beast god path resulted in certain gains. Just his beast god presence alone had reached the 19th level of the heavenly bridge. It was a pity that his law comprehension had no help towards this life or death inheritance. Even though he faced danger, his soul was still completely immersed. With a pure and true soul, he didn't even sense the danger. If he didn't do so, his soul wouldn't have grown so fast over these years. 1,600 years, 1,700, 1,800, 900. The pain of the soul grew more and more terrifying. It far exceeded that of absorbing the 165th crystal, and was very close to his limit. However, he still kept himself immersed in the beast god path. Unless the pain reached a level where it could actually affect his state, he didn't even sense the danger. Heart pure and true, with no other distractions. 2,000 years, 2,100, 200. The fusion level of the crystal, and his soul got higher and higher. It made the intense pain grow even more. This wasn't just any ordinary pain, but a tearing of the soul. At the final threshold, the soul would be completely torn apart. However, as it got closer to the limit, Luo Feng focused his mind. It helped hone his mental state even more and he improved faster. 2,300 years, 2,400, 2,500, 600. It's been 2,600 years. Within the shrine amidst the sealed stars, Luo Feng sat crossed-legged there covered in perspiration and blood. Under such pain, blood drops would drip out as his entire body shivered. However, there was a strong sense of sturdiness from his expression, and he wasn't shaken by such pain. The two candidates from the past, the first one lasted 2,600 years, and the other for 3,300 years. Both were absolute geniuses of their time, and were incredibly exceptional elites and beings of the Earth race. In terms of encounters, the first one was the strongest, and he was at the level of innocence, yet he only lasted 2,600 years. The second one, however, was slightly weaker, even weaker than Luo Feng. However, his mental state reached the level of encompassing awe. At the end, he too fell. There have been many with strong mental states in the history of Earth. There are countless in the first level, many in the second and quite a few in the third. Put sighed within. His teacher, the great being that nurtured the Earth race, had said before. The three states weren't higher or lower than each other, they simply represented three different paths. Knowing oneself and staying true to it, knowing one's strength and absolute confidence. No matter what happens, one would always believe in oneself and not be shaken. However, the growth of this path was the hardest, with no external factors, relying solely on willpower. Put crudely, it simply meant being extremely obstinate. Such a person would suffer easily. However, such a warrior wouldn't follow the crowds, he would be sturdy from within. Even when many others criticize and scold him, he wouldn't change. This was the most tiring paths of all. Innocence, man and nature as one. Such a person could gain the respect of many others. It was hard to hold grudges against such a person, as they saw through the souls of trillions of lives. In history, many of them were considered saints. Encompassing all, one believed in the vastness of the universe, and that they were unable to exceed everything. They weren't satisfied with just going with the flow, they wanted to encompass everything. Such warriors had huge hearts. With endless ambition, and one's belief was terrifying too. Three paths. The reason why the Earth people regarded each level as higher than the other was because they hadn't produced a true great being. There were many in history that had reached the peak of knowing oneself, and after encountering countless setbacks, there were huge changes in history itself. They had seen through themselves and realized eventually that getting along was the path, and completely enforcing their way was too extreme. Hence there was man and nature as one, the so-called perfect level. Then, they no longer suffered, no longer butted heads, rather they were worshipped by many. After walking that second path for a long time, they would have deeper visions. They weren't satisfied with just man and nature as one, they wanted to encompass it all. This was the third level. In the history of Earth, anyone who reached the third level built countries or sects. All in all, they were all the pinnacle beings of Earth. This heart that encompass all allowed them to take any setbacks and improve through any situation. While their qualifications may not match others, however, with resolve and steady improvement, it allowed them to reach the top. 3 paths, different levels. The third was the strongest, the second one followed, and the first one was the hardest. Hence it became known this way through the many generations of Earth, and ignorance was as such. Any great being, or absolute warrior would however mock this, as they knew that the path was simply different. What was the point of comparing these? To persevere for over 2,600 years, his heart is indeed sturdy. Put said, against such tearing pain, he must have a completely sturdy heart and willpower to push through. Only then could he last long. It'll just depend on how strong his heart is. There were many courageous warriors in Chinese history that crumbled under torture. Despite their loyalty, it could only be said that their pain threshold hadn't been honed. That their methods to train weren't strong enough. As for such pain that permeated the soul, that lasted for thousands of years, who could take it? As for the normal heroes from the past, just a few thousand years of solitude would make them go crazy, much less what Luo Feng was going through now. While he was bearing with the torture, he forced himself to not be affected by anything, immersing himself in studying the beast god path. In the 2800th year, the high level of pain finally reached his true limit, affecting his study. Don't disturb me. Howl. Within his internal world, the golden horned beast looked down at the statue and copied it. Just like some scientist from Earth, even in sickness and pain, they continued to research. Even though they were affected and distracted, they would continue their work. Luo Feng, who had been immersed within for over 2,000 years, had already gotten so deep in that even though he was affected, he would simply push it aside. Pain. Force it away, continue his study. Distraction. Push it aside. A pure heart, against the danger, it created a mysterious energy and strength, allowing him to push aside the pain. And every time he did so, it allowed his heart to stabilize. It would gradually strengthen him, and this speed of growth was faster than before. Just like that, Luo Feng held on. 2,900 years, 3,000, 3,100 years, 200. His ability to push aside the pain grew better as time passed. The strength his soul had for pushing aside this eternally rising pain, this pain that he could never quell, only continued to meld with it. However, the pain continued to grow. Almost like after stabilizing himself from the distractions for so long, one would still eventually get tired and unable to move. No matter how strong his beliefs were, one would reach a limit, and the result was, to die. Is this the end? Put sat cross-legged there and looked at the shivering Luo Feng covered in sweat and blood. His body twitched in pain, sometimes madly, sometimes a little. His entire body was shivering madly. He's tired. Child, just give up. Even if you fall, and your teacher doesn't revive you, just because of your strong will, I will reverse time and space to revive you. While you may lose much, however, the process for the Star Tower to recognize an owner is simply too hard. Back then when the tower melded with that colorful light, even teacher didn't have a guarantee, maybe, then even if the Earth race produced incredibly exceptional beings, it still wouldn't work. If the first 3 all failed, even the 4th, 5th and so on might keep failing. Who knows when teacher will change his mind and not force this Star Tower to recognize an owner. Put sighed. He was a universe master, a pinnacle being of the vast universe. He could easily see through Luo Feng's soul, and he knew that Luo Feng was already at his limit. Don't disturb me. Don't bother me. Luo Feng was still completely immersed in studying the beast god path. Against the powerful pain that constantly interrupted him, he howled within and raged, "Don't disturb me, no one can disturb me, no one will." Rumble. A sudden change. If his willpower and consciousness before was said to be honed into a diamond, incredibly sturdy and piercing, over the 3,200 years of training, it reached another level and it became an even denser diamond than before. Just like it was placed in a location with extreme pressure, like a star becoming a neutron star. Consciousness and willpower, it had an unbelievable evolution. The diamond was forced into an atomic nucleus. Continue. Luo Feng had a feeling like he never had before. Almost like, when he reached his final limit of fatigue, passing it now gave him even more strength than before. The pain had disrupted his study before, knocking him hard until he reached his limit. Now, however, it was completely suppressed and gave no resistance whatsoever. What? In the shrine, Put, who had been observing the entire process, glanced at Luo Feng's soul and naturally discovered the evolution. How did it change? How did this happen? This never happened to the two of them before him. Especially the second. He lasted for 3,300 years before falling and nothing like this ever happened. Put was shocked. Right, the two candidates, one was at innocence and the other at encompassing awe. They had different ways of dealing with the pain. Innocence would make him get used to the pain and meld with it. Encompassing awe would encompass even the pain. However, the two of them were both wrong. Wrong in the sense that this isn't a pain from anything, but rather the crystal melding with the soul. This isn't an illusion, but something real. While their methods could push their souls to the limit to not feel the pain. However, without withstanding it, they cannot suppress it. Their strength to suppress it naturally won't be enough. Because they melded with it, they encompassed it. And Luo Feng chose to withstand it. Completely withstand and suppressing the pain, not ever melding or encompassing it. While he may feel more pain. But isn't this a way to train the first level of knowing oneself? Pushing his willpower to the limit finally resulted in evolution, resulting in a huge jump. Put gasped. A huge leap forward gave Luo Feng a huge leeway. 3,300 years, 900. 4,000. 300, 4.900. The crystal continued to meld with him, and the pain gradually rose. Even though the evolution before gave Luo Feng a huge leeway, over the past 2,000 years, it finally got close to his limit again. Is there no way for this star tower to recognize an owner? The past 3,200 years was only the first half. Put was shocked as well, because the longest a candidate lasted before was only 3,300 years. No one truly knew how long this process would take. No one had done it. No one knew the limit, whether it was Put, or that great being before. If Luo Feng fails, how many more candidates would it take to actually succeed? His face was filled with worry. 5,000 years. Put's voice was old and filled with worry. He had never expected the process to take over 5,000 years. The first two had only lasted 2,600 and 3,300 years respectively. Let's hope that Luo Feng succeeds. Put heaved a long sigh, his voice resounding throughout the shrine. Virtual universe, Black Dragon Mountain, 9-Star Bay. Within an ancient construct. 9-Star Bay was now used only by the highest levels of Luo Feng's family, as the many other members all lived in other places. As a family with over 10,000 years of history, plus with Luo Feng's status being akin to the Ganwu universe country leader, the family's power was huge. Walking along the exquisite stone floor, Shushin walked along the pathway followed by two ladies. As Luo Feng, the highest power in the family, was exploring the universe, everything was mostly left to his oldest son Luo Ping to handle. However, the important matters were still handled by Shushin. Shushin had a special position in the family, and also she was the CEO of the Pinghai Company. Over the 10,000 years, her position and authority grew. Just a glance from her would make others shudder. Normal people didn't even dare look up at her. However, there always seemed to be a sense of worry on her face. Master, it's a letter from the family leader. Her virtual assistant suddenly alerted her. Mail. She suddenly stopped, her eyes happy from the surprise. No matter how calm she was in a flurry now. He said he was off to do something important, closing off the virtual universe receiver. However, he completely vanished for 6,000 years, and was unable to be found or contacted. How can I not worry? In the world of warriors, disappearing for 6,000 years without any news, it could very likely mean one had fallen. Luckily, he had left messages for his family before he shut off his receiver. The wife seems very happy. I've never seen her so happy. She's been deep in worry the past few years. Now, however, she seems much lighter than before. The two ladies behind discussed secretly. Indeed so, Shushin was happily reading the mail. He really knows how to say the right things. She read the mail, her smile growing wider. Even the events from high school, we are already an old couple, is there a need for all these? The mail was very long. A total of tens of thousands of words. Shushin had walked from the pathway to the grass, and sat in a chair to slowly read through. This was a mail filled with emotions, from the time the two met to the time they fell in love. Shushin couldn't help but smile as she read. As she read on, suddenly her expression changed. Her body shivered as her eyes revealed shock. No. No. She stood up fiercely, roaring within, tears about to flow down. I don't want your guilt, no. This shocked the two ladies behind her. They exchanged glances and felt something amiss. An urgent shout resounded from afar as a silhouette swiftly rushed over and another from another side. They were Luo Ping and Luo Hai. They both had anxious expressions, shouting for her as they arrived. They too had received mails. Close the door, forbid anyone from entering. Shushin shouted at the two ladies. Yes. The two ladies were her personal staff. Whether it was matters with Ping Hai Company or family affairs, Shushin often gave her orders through them. Even though they were just her staff, their position was akin to high-level managers of the family. Naturally, they were incredibly astute and intelligent. When they sensed something amiss, they immediately shut off the doors. Ma, what's going on? Has Dad really? Luo Ping and Luo Hai were both anxious. Shushin hugged her two sons, finding it hard to hold back her tears. This mail was something Luo Feng had actually set to send 6,000 years after he began the life or death inheritance. According to his thinking back then, the first candidate lasted 2,600 years, and the second one lasted 3,300 years. He expected the entire process to only last at most 4,000 years. It was too long, absurdly long. The two had passed the hidden tests before and had finally gone for the life or death inheritance. They were obviously both exceptional beings too. They shouldn't have been too far from the end. Luo Feng had expected 6,000 years. Since the first lasted 2,600 and the entire process should be about 4,000 years. It wouldn't be so absurd as to go on for 6,000 years, right? Who could last that long? If I succeed in this, I'll get rid of the mail. If I fail, at least they will have something. After all, the moment I fall, the connection to the virtual universe has been shut and the primal chaos city leader wouldn't know about me falling. With his level of being, his training may go on for hundreds of millions of years at a time. Who knows when he would actually revive me? And Shushin's lifespan is at most 10 million years. Luo Feng was very worried. He believed that even if he fell, he would eventually be revived by his teacher. However, what if he was only revived after 10 million years? What about his wife? After his revival, what if his wife, son, parents and younger brother were all dead? Hence, he prepared a mail for them and set it to send automatically 6,000 years from when he began. Your father is in a predicament, but he did say he would return in the future. If short, 10,000 years, if long up to 10 million years. Shushin's voice shook. Right, 10 million years. Her lifespan was but that long. Would she see him again? Dad. Dad. Luo Ping and Luo Hai were shocked too. Let's go see your grandparents. Shushin suppressed the pain and said. After a while, the three of them met up with Luo Honghua and Gongshin Lan, along with Luo Hua. They all bore a look of pain. The entire Luo family was supported by Luo Feng. The humans of Earth were the same. He had always been there, weathering the storms and allowing them to grow to such strength, allowing the humans of Earth to stand high in the entire Gan Wu universe country. However, the pillar had fallen. Little Feng. Gong Xinlan was shaking. Even though Luo Feng said he would return in the distant future, the family all regarded this as words to console them. Our Luo family, our Earth, is facing a huge crisis. Xin's voice was hoarse. Everyone looked at her. The account number and password he left in the mail is for some wealth for the Luo family. It's one with a huge amount of wealth within. Xin said. She hadn't seen him in so long. She didn't expect for him to leave an account in the mail, reaching up to 50 billion mixed elements. This was an unbelievable sum to her. Within the entire Ganwu universe country, other than the leader himself, who would have such wealth? Everybody hurry and get ready to deal with this. She said hoarsely. The hypocrisy of the world, if Luo Feng truly fell, our family would definitely be targeted. We don't have enough strength to protect the entire huge family. I'm heading immediately to see his teacher Tru Yang and ask about him. Hurry and go. Go, leave the family to us. Luo Hongguo and Luo Hua said. She nodded. Xin was after all a core member of the virtual universe company. With her connections and her having Tru Yang's number from a long time ago, she quickly contacted him and told him what happened. What? Return in the distant future. Tru Yang's expression changed. Unlike Xin and the others, Tru Yang was an absolute warrior of the universe. He knew much more. He immediately understood, Luo Feng's distant future meant he would be revived. Otherwise, with the virtual universe network spreading all over the vast universe, how could they not be able to contact him? I'm going to see the Primal Chaos City leader. Tru Yang said urgently. Sorry to trouble you. Xin said anxiously. I am his teacher. Tru Yang immediately left the virtual universe network. Primal Chaos City. Tru Yang immediately rushed to the city leader's residence to request a visit. What level of being was the city leader? Even Tru Yang had almost no possibility of ever seeing his true body, unless there were extenuating circumstances. This time, Tru Yang saw him. You say that he might have fallen. The city leader sat crossed-legged across the vast wasteland of corpses. Yes. Tru Yang said respectfully. He's still alive. The city leader said. Alive? Tru Yang was shocked. I can confirm that he's been in the 7th battlefield Star Tower, and has been there the past 6,000 years. The city leader said. He hasn't connected to the network for the past 6,000 years, but I can confirm his life energy is still there. At most, he should be in some trouble. It's normal for danger to appear within Star Tower. Tru Yang was somewhat nervous when he heard, that was the Star Tower. On the surface, the tower only had forbidden guards in spaces. However, in truth, it had many dangers about. One had to know that it was a place that even universe masters didn't dare mess about within. Star Tower. Within the shrine surrounded by countless sealed stars, the floor was stained in a layer of blood. Luo Feng sat there, his body shivering from the pain, as blood flowing all around. The Sector Lord body's regeneration was incredibly strong, the main core could give never-ending energy to recover, yet he kept bleeding. His body was about to crumble everywhere. This was the result of intense pain from the soul. It was obvious that the pain from his soul was absurd. 6,000 years. 5,000 years ago, he was already close to his limit, and at 5,600 years, he had completely reached his limit already. He was able to evolve at the critical moment last time. I don't believe that he can be so lucky this time. However, from the 5,600 year to the 6,000 year, it's been 400 years. Just what amount of strength does he have? Put sat crossed-legged and looked at Luo Feng shocked. He couldn't imagine how he could still hold on even after reaching his limit 400 years ago. The pain on his soul had already reached its limit, and he had no way to suppress it anymore. Luo Feng couldn't study the beast god path anymore, and his consciousness was simply holding on by a thread, withstanding the tearing of his soul. I want to see you all again. You all. You all. Luo Feng's consciousness held on to one single thing, that was his family. His parents and brother, his wife. He didn't want to be revived to a time where they were all gone. He couldn't accept that. At the final point, His heart only held that one thought, his family. I wish. I really wish. His soul began to crumble, however a formless willpower forced it back together. Crumble, form, amidst the struggle, his only thought held him together. Within he called out to his family. He was guilty, he couldn't bear to. That crystal however continued to meld and tear his soul apart. His soul was about to crumble. I really wish. You all. This video will end here.